So it's 2026, and I can definitely say in the last 10 years in the drone industry, as it is an actual industry, in my opinion, probably the number one thing that has changed the most in this industry is simply the fact that people generally look as drones as a legitimate professional service and not as some hobby or a toy, where years ago it used to be that way. As you know, if you had a drone, if you had the old school Phantom 1, 2, 3, or even the 4, it was something that hobbyists used. People on YouTube had drones, people who were into cameras and video production had drones, and everybody kind of just saw it as this is a tool that's used from a hobbyist perspective or as a big boy's toy. But more and more, 10 years have gone on. AI is in everybody's minds. People recognize now that drones are AI. It's AI in the sky, what we like to call it. And what we have seen in the last 10 years of doing this more than anybody else is, from a professional business perspective, people no longer look at drone operators as people who just are playing with toys or technology or advanced gadgets. They all recognize it as a professional business tool, and it goes way beyond just taking pictures and doing videos, but it's used for everything from search and rescue to scanning and mapping and full-fledged inspections for radio towers, cell phone towers, dams, bridges, even nuclear power plants. They're using drones to inspect them. So there's so many things that we can say, Damon, that have changed in the last 10 years. But in my perspective, I think if that's not number one, it's at least at the very top.
Yeah, I think I'd agree totally, because back in the day, people were like, well, what is that, a drone? And it's like, no, 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 this is a remote control multicopter, right? Like we really had to try and differentiate it and then separate ourselves from the hobbyist or the toy market that it was. And that was a big challenge. And I think a lot of it too, the perception has changed pretty dramatically over the last decade, because a lot of people they either had the association that drones are just toys, or they had the association that drones were just used in the military to kill people. And,
Right.
and that was it. There were, you had big military drones, and then you had the little toys, and there was nothing in between. But now we've seen just a massive adoption in all kinds of industries and all sectors across the board. And we've never had, as the supply is getting bigger, the demand keeps growing, and it's outpacing the supply at the point we are now, which creates this incredible opportunity we have now.
So it's awesome because as we're recording this podcast, it is March of 2026. And for us, for you and me, this is kind of an awesome month because it is our literal exact 10-year anniversary of the launch of Drone Command Live, which is our live event that we've hosted nearly monthly for 10 whopping years. I mean, an entire decade we've been hosting this live event. And of course, we started off having these events all over the country, in some of the big cities all over the place, from coast to coast, California, Texas, Florida, everywhere. I mean, I don't know if we were in all 50 states, but we got pretty close to covering all the regions of the country. And we have seen in that time, of course, the purpose of Drone Command Live was for people to come and learn how to start a drone business. And 10 years ago, what it took to start a drone business was not necessarily super complicated, but it was legitimately different than it is today in terms of what opportunities exist and the perception of the marketplace of what it is. So in 10 years, nobody has seen more people than you and I start successful drone businesses. Probably nobody's seen more people fail either, because people always want to do it their own way and, kind of reinvent the wheel, and they screw things up, and we try to warn them what not to do, but nobody wants to listen to experience because, this is human nature and the way people are. But in those 10 years, literally we can look anybody in the eye and say nobody has helped more what we call dronepreneurs get started with a successful and legitimate drone business, making actual real money in the real world. And the crazy thing is, Damon, is that people don't realize what opportunity exists. People think it's a side hustle, like, hey, I'll make a couple extra bucks here and there, like they're doing like Uber or something like that. And they're just trying to make side hustle or gig economy type money. But the folks who join our network of drone operators and come to Drone Command Live, they're making more money than airline pilots, many of them in their very first year in the drone business, because people don't even understand that not only does the drone offer that opportunity for you, but it's easier now to get started than ever. But there's kind of like a small window left, I think, before the ease by which people can get into this industry starts tightening up, right? So I definitely see in the near future, because again of this perception that drones are no longer a toy and it's an actual professional service, then people are going to realize, okay, anybody then can buy this tool and they can start a business, and it's going to get, you know, not necessarily difficult, but it's not going to be as easy as it is right now. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think there are three things that really have happened is the technology has gotten way better. I mean, I look at what we
Yeah.
started with 10 years ago and what was required. And on the drone side, the technology side, and all the AI integration that we have now. And you talk to some of our original members that started 10 years ago and their business, they're like, man, these guys are so lucky now. You know, it's so much easier. And the three ways it's easier is the technology. The drones are just better. You can push a button now and the AI
Yep.
does most of the work for you versus you having to learn how to do it and go through that. So that's better. The sensors are better, the reliability is better, GPS connectivity, all that stuff is better. And then secondarily, like we were just talking about, the marketplace is more mature. So you don't have to educate your clients about the benefits nearly as much. Now, there's still some education that goes into it, but most of the clients, and this is why we talk about the demand growing even higher, is because they're aware of, hey, we can bring drones in to inspect our cell
Yep.
towers or our wind farms or whatever, and we can increase efficiencies. We can get data we've never had before. We can do it faster and more efficiently, and we can literally save lives or prevent injuries from people. And so all kinds of benefits. And they're aware of that now, so they're closer, farther along the buying cycle with that, you know, which is just incredible. And then also the value, what people can charge for the drone services, that's gone up, you know, quite a bit because they're looking at what they're saving, and they never had that before. They never had that to equate to it. So I think those are the three big benefits that really weigh into where we are now. And even though there are more drone operators out there now, there the demands tenfold what it was 10 years ago. And it far exceeds what the operators are.
So I think there's this unique kind of like Goldilocks zone that we're in right now, where it's this comparison between what we call awareness and personal experience. And so for those who are listening or watching, what we mean by this is one of my duties is to take a look at not only history but current events. So what we like to do, if you're looking to, for example, invest in a business, a marketplace, or an industry, for people who do big time investments, you know, they're investing billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars in a complete industry or in hedge funds or you know, entire marketplace funds. They take a look at history before you're going to waste a whole lot of money or you're going to risk a whole lot of money, because nobody can predict the future. But the best predictor of the future, of course, is past, in the past experiences and past metrics. So you take a look at all the history of business and the history of industries, and you take a look at where things have gone, you can say, okay, based on this metric, and this metric, we see these patterns emerge. And when you see those patterns emerge, and you can lay those patterns upon other industries as you're living in real time, say, all right, based on, you know, the last 10 industries who went through this type of pattern, this is where this is going to go, and we can have strong confidence it's going to be that way. And so one of these factors or a series of metrics that you can take a look at historically in other industries like computers, like trains, planes, and automobiles, we always like to talk about those because how transformative they were. Yet to us, it's just part of life. None of us woke up and went, wow, a train, that's amazing. It already always existed from the time we were born. Same with planes, same with cars. But there's this thing called awareness versus personal experience. What that means is when somebody's aware that something exists versus already having had personal experience with it. So, for example, take cars. When cars first came out, people slowly became aware of their existence. It didn't happen overnight. We take it for granted. I mean, it was very slow before people all heard about this thing called a motorized carriage. It took a long time before people heard about it. People maybe took some pictures of it and they wrote about it in the newspapers back in the day. And there was a long time between the time it was created to the time people heard about it and then the time that people actually had personal experience seeing one with their own two eyes. And you can say the same thing about trains. You can say the same thing about personal computers. My personal computers came out there in the late 70s, and in the 80s, everybody kind of became aware of them. And then in the mid 80s, you finally got your own personal experience with your own personal computer where you actually touched one and felt one for yourself. Well, we're in that Goldilocks zone right now where 10 years ago, most people had not even heard of drones. And if they had heard of drones, it was the Predator drones that were used in some war somewhere to blow people up on the other side of the planet. But the idea of using a drone to do something simple, like to take aerial photography or aerial videos for marketing your company or for real estate or for hotels and resorts or to do mapping or scanning or to work with farmers or a construction project, any of these very basic ways that we're using drones today, nobody even knew what a drone was. Hadn't even heard it. Just 10 years ago, the vast majority of people hadn't heard of it. But now, fast forward 10 years, it's in movies. They're talking about it in Congress all the time. People have, heard of a friend who has one. They see them on YouTube videos all the time. And so the vast majority of the public knows what a drone is. It's in their mental vocabulary. It's in their verbal vocabulary. They know what it is. But shockingly, the average person still hasn't seen one in real life. So they're aware that it exists, but they don't have personal experience with it yet. They don't have a personal one-on-one experience. And for those of us who are in the drone industry, you know this, Damon, better than anybody. You're the drone boss. I mean, you've been using these things for decades before they were even popular, before anybody knew about them, before they were, multi-copters. You guys were building them yourselves and you had all different types of drones. But even to this day, in 2026, you can take out your drone somewhere, pull it out and show it to someone, and they still freak out because you are giving them their very first experience with a drone with their own two eyes. And, you and I like to always, give people a chance to fly. You taught me that. You taught me to, give people the controls and let them carefully experience it for themselves. And it gets everybody all excited. And we're just promoting the industry, et cetera. But my point is, this is a Goldilocks zone. That time between when people know what it is, because now they know what it is, there's acceptance of it because we accept what we know. But they don't have personal experience. So it's still a novelty. It's still something new. So there's still some excitement to it. Once it becomes a commodity, like a car, where when we walk outside, like my children, my grandchildren rather, they're going to grow up and they're just going to see drones flying all over the sky 24/7. And it's not going to be anything amazing to them. It's just part of life. So because we're in this zone right now, it gives dronepreneurs, people like you and me and the people who come to our monthly events, Drone Command Live and other events that we have, it gives us right now in 2026 and I don't know how much further, this window of opportunity that didn't exist 10 years ago, and it certainly won't exist 10 years from now. It's not to say that 10 years from now you can't still get a drone business started, but in terms of the prime opportunity, we're right smack in the middle of it because we're right in that Goldilocks zone that I just described. And historically, this has worked in all these other industries. Go back and look it up yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that the Goldilocks analogy there because that's exactly what it is. And we've got this massive window. But like you said, it's gonna shorten and narrow and I always like to think of it like a pizza shop. If you go to New York and you were the first pizza shop in New York, well, by now you pretty much own it. But if you're the 780th pizza shop that opens up, man, you're going to be struggling. You're going to have to put in 10 times the work to get a fraction of the results. And what we're seeing now, like the guys that started their drone business 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they've got such a giant head start. It's almost like cheating. So the sooner you get in, the better. And it's just going to keep expanding and growing. I couldn't be more excited about the industry and especially seeing it evolve over the last, I've been doing this commercially over 30 years and where we were 30 years ago, holy cow. It's just like day and night. I remember the hardest part for me back then was getting people to understand and educating them on how this could actually benefit them. It was just so foreign to them. And now you just go and they already know it's so much easier now. People have it so easy now. It just blows my mind. And blows my mind they don't take advantage of it, right? Because what's going to happen is it's going to be like like Uncle Jerry at Thanksgiving that you go to Walmart with him and he's like all those things that are as seen on TV. He's like, that was my idea. They stole that from me, but never did anything about it, right? So this is the opportunity to do something about it for sure.
So with that in mind, 10 years ago, Damon, when people come to us about getting a drone business started, and we would give them our instructions, our advice, and even details on how to do so, what would you say today has changed from 10 years ago in terms of, we just described what's changed most in the industry, but because the industry has changed and because awareness is so much higher and people see it as something professional, which is what we're the topic of today's podcast is, what would you say has changed in terms of your advice or direction for what you used to say 10 years ago? Here's what's necessary to start a successful drone business compared to what you would share with somebody today. Here's now what you have to do to start a successful drone business.
Well, I think the biggest thing is how much you need to prepare and study and learn and practice. 10 years ago, there was quite a bit more of that. You had to understand the drones. You had to spend a lot more time flying. You had to understand the editing side and all that stuff. Now with AI and with the technology on the drones and the cameras and with everything, that has totally shifted the focus. So what we're seeing in the real world is the implementation time. So instead of your ramp up time taking 3 to 6 months to start making real money, we're seeing that in 3 to 6 weeks oftentimes. If as long as everyone's work ethic is different, but if you get out there and follow the roadmap and implement it, man, it's just reminds me of a saying Tony Robbins had where he's like, you can literally, by knowing the road ahead, you can literally shave decades into days. And that's what we've seen with the technology that's out there now. And it's just gotten so much better for the people that take advantage of it. But again, it's not going to be around for long, because as more people get in and the market starts to stabilize out, where the supply and the demand equal out, then we're going to be where the quality is going to have to be so much higher. And that's, I think, one of the other biggest blessings we have now is that, to most people, to your point, their first experience is oftentimes the first time that you or whoever has a drone shows them that. And just the fact you're showing them an image from an aerial perspective, aerial perspective, I mean, blows their mind. And you can suck. Like you can not do great work and still blow their mind, and they think it's the greatest thing ever. And in a few more months or years, hopefully, that's not going to be the case. You're not going to be able to suck and do well. You're going to have to be on point in your game. But right now we have that Goldilocks opportunity it's just unbelievable.
So would you say then that, like, 10 years ago, there was probably more mental bandwidth necessary on behalf of the entrepreneur, because he had to learn how to both be a businessman and fly the drone. And those were both critical. Where today, you really just need to know how to be a businessman, and the need to know how to fly a drone has gone down so much, because the drones fly themselves and they're almost impossible to crash. It's almost impossible to screw up. If you can drive a car, driving a car is literally 10 orders of magnitude more difficult than flying a drone. Anybody can fly a drone. Where 10 years ago, it was easy, but not as easy as it is today. And so if I'm hearing you right, obviously the focus that we like to put for folks when they're starting a business is we focus on the skill set of being a business person, an entrepreneur, getting customers and making money. Where if you're to go on YouTube or social media or TikTok or anywhere else, and you're looking for advice about a drone business, everybody's teaching people how to fly the drone, how to get a cool photo, how to get the right shot. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're not belittling that or minimizing the cool factor. However, that's not the way to make money. That's not the way to start making money, like, immediately. Like, we teach people how to make money the Monday after they leave our event, which is usually a 3-day event, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because we're teaching them business skills. Where 10 years ago, we had these events all live, and we're teaching them how to start a business, but we're also teaching them how to fly live and in real time. COVID happens. We switched to a virtual model where now we're doing these events live, but we're doing them virtually, in the sense where we're doing them online. And there's no more hands-on with the drone, because you can't get hands-on with the drone over the internet. However, in that time, drones have so massively increased in terms of their abilities that part isn't as necessary as it used to be. Yes, you teach people, right, out of the bat, that they should, burn through a battery a day, is I think what you normally tell them. In other words, go. And that's the other thing. 10 years ago, what did the battery life we thought was amazing at 14 or 15 minutes? And now these drones will go almost an hour. like literally. And when you
Yeah.
first got started, you used to tell us, 30 seconds and then 90 seconds was how long you could have put a drone in the air. When you finally got to 3 minutes, you thought it was the most unbelievable thing possible.
Yep.
And in a future episode, of course, we'll have to talk about battery technology and where that's going to take us. But just imagine what's going to happen when a drone could be airborne for 5 hours because of the battery life. It's just going to be completely outrageous. But the point is, today, if somebody is just willing to learn the skill set of entrepreneurialism and apply it specifically to the drone opportunity, I hate to use this cheesy sounding cliche, but the sky truly is the limit.
It totally is. Yeah. And to your point, like we see people like look at our last BizCon. We do an annual event every year to kind of for advanced training. And as people build and grow their businesses, there are different challenges that they're looking at. And we also recognize, the milestones when they hit 5 figures, 6 figures, 250,000, 500,000, 750,000, and million. And we look at our past, everybody that hit the $1 million mark this year. Prior to them starting their drone business, they had no drone experience and no photography experience. They had never taken a picture with anything other than their iPhones before and never flown a drone ever before until attending our event. And on the flip side of that, we have people that are seasoned pilots and spend their whole life flying and trying to be the best, and they can't figure out how to scrounge 2 deals together and make any money. It just baffles my mind. But it is this unique opportunity for people that are willing to get out there and do it. And you have to, if you are a pilot, you have to put your ego aside a little bit, and you have to learn how to market correctly, how to present yourself.
Or a video producer, or a photographer, or a business person. And, everybody's got to put their ego aside to say, how do I make money doing this?
Right. Yeah.
Because everybody's got their, I know I'm a better photographer than Ansel Adams, or I'm a better videographer than James Cameron, or whatever, and everybody thinks they're the best, and that's great. I hope that people are good at what they do, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is, what does your wallet say? What does your wallet say about where we're at with that? And I personally, there's a joke we always make. Would you rather be, some Oscar-winning director who doesn't have any money and you're broke as could be, or would you rather be Michael Bay, who doesn't make Oscar-winning movies but makes movies that make $1 billion, and you are financially settled? So if you're artistic and you want to be the artistic person, fine. Then probably entrepreneurship is not for that person. But if you actually want to make money, the greatest thing about this industry to me is the tool already exists. So in our industry, when we teach business owners of all different types of businesses and all different types of industries how to build and develop their business and market it in the most powerful way to get the most return, rule number 1 is you have to do something innovative in that business. Your products, your services, your company is always about innovation. I spend days and days and days teaching people how to innovate their company, etc. In the drone industry, we don't have to teach them that because the tool exists. You just got to buy the stupid drone. Just buy it. And they're freaking cheap. I mean, they're ridiculously cheap. Even if tariffs and wars and things like that make double the cost of drones, drones could be 3-4 times more expensive than they are right now. And it's still about the cheapest industry you can think of to start a new business. I mean, you can get a brand new drone business started right now with one single tool, one drone for about $1,100. But Damon, tell me what other industry exists where you could spend only $1,100 and that's all you need to get your business started. I mean, if a drone costs $5,000, if like a Mavic or an Air 3S, like a DJI Air 3S, cost $5,000, still a freaking killer deal. It doesn't cost $5,000, thank God, but still totally a great deal. Where can you start a business for $5,000? One tool, $5,000, you can start the whole business. It's incredibly rare, incredibly rare.
Yeah, we're just at such an incredible time right now, and it's just going to get better. Over the next couple of years with the technology and everything, but also as AI, and we're seeing all these massive layoffs in companies and with AI adoption. And the great thing about this is we're pretty much impervious to that because we're with AI in the sky. And as these companies are having layoffs and cutting back, they're incorporating more AI, which is more of us, and it's a higher demand for us.
There it is. So it's more of us. So I would say it's not even so much imperviousness as much as it is, it's what side of the transfer of wealth you want to be on. So if you look back in history and you see that there's always these technological shifts that happen and wealth transfers from one industry to another industry, from one part of the world to another part of the world. And the question is, do you want to be on the side where wealth transferred from you or to you? And the beauty of this industry is it's transferring to us. So let's just kind of review as we're coming to a close here, Damon. We're talking about what's changed in the last 10 years. And so even 10 years ago, like pretty much the easiest way for people to get started was to do real estate photos or aerial imagery, like aerial photography and videography for local businesses. And that still exists. And that still exists well and good. But now people are doing hotels and resorts, doing aerial photography and videography for hotels and resorts. People are doing aerial funerals. People are doing roofing inspections, and they're doing Scenescape 360, which is a 360-degree walkthrough virtually of homes and buildings and construction sites. And they're doing construction projects. They're doing agricultural projects. They're doing scanning and mapping. I mean, the ways that people have found to use drones 10 years later is not infinite, but it's definitely overwhelming. It's overwhelming for an individual person to be able to consider all of them. What are some of the other remarkable ways that you're seeing right now? Maybe not immediately in terms of someone to get a business started tomorrow, they would do this. But what are some of the things you're seeing right now that people are using drones to make money for that 10 years ago was either not heard of or really uncommon?
I think inspections is the first thing that kind of comes to mind, and on security. So security is kind
Yeah.
of an up and coming one, but I think those two. But inspections, I thought that would gain traction, and by now that would pretty much be standardized. But it's still not. Very few companies are using it, and the fact when you look at how many lives are lost every year and injuries and paralyzations and amputations and all that stuff from inspection in related accidents that a drone can replace and do. So I think that's probably one of the biggest ones, and it has had a big adoption, but it's still, we're not even at 1% saturation in the marketplace for that. So it's just incredibly wide open. And then I think on the security side, that is another thing that's just huge. And when I say inspections, I mean, I'm not just talking like all the stuff you mentioned, roads and dams and power lines and cell towers and wind farms and solar farms and roofs and highways, and I mean there's radio towers, there's so much stuff, building inspections, so much stuff that can be there. And I think we'll see what's going to be coming up in the next few years is a lot of service-based industries like power washing and like power washing, replacing the scaffolding window cleaners for these high-rise buildings and stuff. A lot of the doing stuff is going to be replaced as the technology improves. And it just creates more opportunity and more ways for us to make money, which is pretty awesome.
Awesome. I think that's pretty much the specific point I wanted to address was in these 10 years, this is what's changed. This is the number one thing that I've seen change. There's a handful of other things we could probably address, but in terms of keeping the podcast on topic, that particular subject being the way the industry now sees the drone as a professional tool and a professional service as opposed to something that's either a hobby-based service or something that is, a big boy's toy, I think is the main thing that has changed in these last 10 years. And the beauty is right now for anybody who you want to take advantage of that, we definitely want to highly suggest that you do so. You could take a look at the description below. In our description below, we do have our events that we've been holding 10 years. We have been having Drone Command live events, and this event has single-handedly produced more successful drone entrepreneurs who have started successful, real, legitimate businesses, making real money in the real world. Many of them just after having lost a job. Some of them are serial entrepreneurs, what have you, but people who are ready to fire their boss and to be their own boss and to build their own future. We want to encourage you to come to Drone Command Live, and we will teach you step by step exactly what it will take for you to start making money in the drone business by the following Monday after the event. Damon, any last words from you?
Yeah, look forward to getting to know you, continuing our conversations, and hopefully we'll see you at an upcoming training, or if not, on an upcoming episode of this podcast. Can't wait. Take care, everybody.